Listen, did you know that 1 in 6 Americans put their home or car plans on hold? And it's not just due to the government shutdown. Now, what many people don't know is that this creates an opportunity for those who are future home buyers. And I really want to let you know how we took advantage of this opportunity many years ago when it came to purchasing our homes. And this is a game changer. And I'm going to let you know now, realtors are not going to like this, what I tell you on the back end. But let's dive in. This information comes from Redfin, and it says that 17% of Americans are delaying a major purchase like a home or car due to the government shutdown. But it's been going on. People have been delaying buying a home for several different reasons. Some just don't want to buy a home. Some didn't like the interest rates. Some were not in financial position. Some prefer renting. It's different things that have caused people to not be as interested in homes. But if you go about it the right way, I think it might heighten your interest and raise your awareness. So some Americans are changing plans because they're directly impacted by the shutdown, and others are wary of making a big purchase because of economic uncertainty. But most are moving forward with purchases. Well, that's what they say, but it's not to the level that it once was. I have inside access because, I'm a previous realtor, and homes not selling like they once were, and some people are expecting to get more out of their homes when they do sell, which slows down the home sales as well. Not to mention that people are realizing how propped up the housing market has been and has always been. And it's not just that the price of houses always go up. It's just the money is losing value. So it has to go up in order to offset the fact that the money has lost value. So people are waking up. We're not naive to a lot of these things, but they want to blame it on just the government shutdown and things of that nature. People are wising up, and they understand that it's a better way to do things, or not even do it at all, because it's all about supply and demand. If entities want you to buy a home, but you don't want to buy a home, then that increases the supply of homes that are available because homes are not selling. And if the supply of homes that are not selling goes up, that means you as the buyer are of higher priority because they need somebody to buy all of the homes that are available because the inventory is high. So now that puts you in a position of power. This puts you in a position of negotiating power to the point where you don't have to just settle for whatever the price tag says. You can negotiate. But if you do it the way that we did, and I'll tell you a quick story on that, then it positions you to have even more leverage that the realtors will not like. 24% of Americans are delaying or canceling major purchase plans due to the government shutdown. I have the charts here, and this is according to Redfin, as I mentioned. Now, it says that the U.S. government partially shut down on October 1st after lawmakers were unable to agree on a budget. That means pay has been suspended for roughly 2 million federal workers. So I know this is the case because I have federal workers that I'm connected to that are currently at home, not working, and they're supposed to get back pay, if everything goes well. And it shows that 750,000 furloughed, and the rest expected to work without compensation. So some are at home, some are working without compensation, though they are typically entitled to back pay once an agreement is reached. So that's the case. But I hear that they may be picking and choosing who's qualified for back pay, which would suck on a whole nother level. Now, it's worth noting that the White House is considering not paying furloughed federal employees for time they didn't work during the shutdown, according to reports. That's what I just mentioned. Millions of other Americans who technically work for private companies also go without pay during the shutdown because their projects rely on federal grants or contracts. While the length of the shutdown is unknown, it's likely the government will reopen by mid-October. So that's just hypothetical. Depending on when you're watching this video, it may or may not have been open, but that doesn't change what I'm about to say when it comes to supply and demand, when it comes to you having purchasing power in terms of you being a home buyer and them needing you to buy a home. Quit looking at it like they're doing you a favor when you are looking at buying a home. And many times they posture it as, hey, you got to do it right now. In some cases, that's true. If it's a certain community, certain areas growing, and people have that heightened fear of missing out on buying that home, then yeah, that could be a good example of if you may need to strike on buying a home that you know is absolutely for you and you really want that home. But just understand that in many cases, you are the one who holds the power. And if you let them strip you of that power, then you go in a submissive form and they take advantage of that. So let's dive into my story, because I really want you to get this, because this right here just breaks down why people are not buying homes. I told you that it's more than just the government shutdown, but I really want you to understand what you need to do. So for one, if you're in the market of buying a home, of course, you want to be getting your credit in order and things of that nature. If you want help with bettering your credit, we got you. So, you know what to do, so do what you know. But if you are in position credit-wise, financially, and you're ready to buy a home, make sure that whatever the sticker price is, you're willing to negotiate. Negotiate a price point that better serves you. Because at the end of the day, the banks are going to get their money, because they're going to front load the loans with interest on the front end. So you need to be doing yourself a favor. The people who sell you the home, they're going to get their commission. So you need to be looking out for you. And a lot of times they get more upfront than you'll actually pay off in your home over the next 5 years. So you have to be willing to negotiate. So if it's a home that you're looking at, and let's just say, for example, it's $300,000. Don't be afraid to offer much less. By much less, I mean, if you offer $250,000, they might look at that as like, oh no, that's crazy. But if the house ain't selling, especially if the house has been on the market for a certain amount of time, that's another level of power. Look and see how long that house has been on the market. If that house has been on the market for 100 days plus, they're looking to sell their house a year plus. Or you see that it was once for sale, then it relisted for sale. That means they've been trying to sell it for a long time. So they're willing to sell it. They want to get more out of it than probably what they owe, or whatever justifies their equity in their mind. But if it's a serious buyer who's ready to buy and already pre-qualified and, has done the things, then they'll be willing to accept lower offers than typical, because the competition is low from a buyer standpoint, because not a lot of people are ready and not a lot of people are buying or interested in buying. Now, this is what we did, and this is a quick story that I feel like it's going to help you tremendously, because the first route of negotiating based on, the home listing price and if it's been on sale, that's still you going directly through a realtor. However, how we did, we were actually living in our home, and I had been there, for some time and was renting. But I liked the home. It had great dimension, great potential. I feel like the area has great upside in terms of value from that angle. So that said, I was like, you know what? I wonder if I can buy this home. Now, mind you, I was renting and had been renting for a while, but I was interested in learning how people were able to buy and flip properties and wholesale properties. So I had went down the journey of wholesaling properties and knowing how people can buy properties off market. And I was learning how you can find out who the owners of certain properties are. So I decided to skip trace the property that I was already living in as a renter. And I said, okay, let's see if I can find this individual. Skip trace, found him, had his actual number, told him, hey, I'm the one that's living here. Da, da, da. And I had never communicated with him. Keep in mind, I was going directly through a property manager. So that property manager was basically the middleman in between me and the actual owner of the home, because any payments I made went to the property manager. They cut the check to the homeowner, and anytime work needed to be done, I had to go through the property manager, and then the homeowner would allow for the work to be done based on whatever their threshold was. So I never had communicated with this person, but he knew I had been living there for a certain amount of years, because it had been the same tenant for X amount of years. So I let him know, introduce myself, hey, this is me, Mr. Smith, da 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 da, and gave him a breakdown of what I wanted to do and how I was interested in buying a home. And I knew the home needed work in certain areas, and I was willing to buy it as is. That's the key, as is. Now, this can be done even if you're not living in the property. So don't look at it like, oh, you were living there, so it made it easier. No, you can find an off-market property that somebody else might be renting or living in. So it's habitable. It's people that, can live in it. Or it might be a home that's off market and nobody is living in it, because they're trying to rent it out right now. So the home might be for rent. They might have signs saying, hey, they're trying to rent it. That may be an opportunity as well. You find out who the owner is, skip tracing, look that up, and basically you find out certain details, and you might have to go through a couple of different numbers, text a couple of different numbers, call a couple of different numbers, and find out who it is that owns it and negotiate a price. So I shot out a price, and my price was, I had an idea in mind that I was willing to pay the price for, but I undershot it. So that way that would serve as the foundation. I ain't gonna lie, I undershot it tremendously. I almost don't even want to say out loud how low we were able to get the home for. And it's people that's, on our street that probably paid 3 times as much as what we paid. And this is just because we went about it a different way. But I undershot how much. And he was like, nah, I can't do that, but I'll do this. And the number that he was willing to do was still a huge percentage less than what I was willing to go up to. Huge percentage. So let's say that whatever I offered, he said he wanted to do not quite double, but 40% more than what I offered, so to speak. That's just an example. Well, I was willing to pay double what I offered. So since I was willing to pay double what I offered and he offered in the middle of that, I accepted that. And it was a simple agreement. We both was like, yeah, I moved forward because I was already pre-qualified and ready. And we closed on the home in a weekend. It didn't take long. Then I didn't have to do any moving or anything. And then the equity in the home was already baked into it. I already had equity in it because it was worth double what we paid for from the very beginning. Then when other homes sold, that made it better. We made upgrades, so I don't even know. We haven't even had it recently appraised. Got a new roof outlet, these things of that nature. We haven't had it recently appraised, and I know the equity has gone up tremendously. So the point I'm making is, when opportunities like this present themselves, in other words, homes are not selling, that's opportunity for future home buyers to negotiate and get it on your terms. Key on your terms and negotiating power in your best benefit. If it's a home that you're buying that's on the market and it's already ready to roll, no upgrades need to be made, no adjustment, you like it as is, still be willing to negotiate. However, if you want to consider buying a home that has some equity built into it, to where you get it off market and it's no competition because nobody is taking this route other than people who might be into the business of wholesaling or remodeling and then reselling it. But nobody's, from a homeowner standpoint, doing this. Now this puts you as the only individual who's pursuing this property, and you are setting the terms of buying this home off market and positioning yourself to have equity in it from day one. So hopefully this was helpful, and hopefully you take advantage of this opportunity if you're a future home buyer. And if you need assistance with taking your credit to the next level, or even if you want to start your own credit business, you know what to do. So do what you know. Link below. Salute.